Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of DC Stargirl, a great episode, the penultimate episode of Stargirl. Oh my god. This episode was so good because I love the twist. Let's break things down before we even get into the meats and potatoes about what happened, like the twist in the episode. Okay, because I love the way they set it up. They did such a good job of because we all know the typical hero thing is, oh, I'm gonna push everyone away. The moment Sylvester start setting things up, it's like, hey, Beth, Yolanda, I want you to find the children to the other JSA members. The fact is, I, along with others, never had any families, and some of those legacies got passed on, like Jenny and her brother had their father's legacy. You guys kind of feel, though, y'all were the next generation to fill Dr. Midnighter and Wildcat's situation. So I need you to find those who didn't have children, like The Flash, Dr. Fate. Well, didn't Sandman have a kid or something like that? Because isn't that where Jenny and her brother went with Shade to go deal with? Either way, he's like, right, the next legacy. Because that, to me, that might be a miss up on his part. That might have been, because wasn't the whole point is they went to Sandman's, like, children or something? So that might have been a slip up. That might have been like an early sign of like, wait, what? Because I barely remembering that episode. Wasn't that where they went? Maybe I'm misremembering, and it's just like I'm just kind of filling that in with what we know now. But regardless, and now it's like, oh, you're talking like you're not going to make it out. And Sylvester's like, no, I'm gonna be back. But yeah, especially with the episode being what it is, the last will and testament of Sylvester Pemberton. You're like, right. Like, because I went into just being like, man, Sylvester might not survive this series. So I'm like, yeah, so with everything that he's doing, it seems like he's setting up for his mano-a-mano with Icicle. He's like, yeah, I'm going to have to go it alone. He's like, yeah, Icicle's going to be alone because there's going to be a vigil held, and Cameron and his grandparents are going. It's about the teacher that is dead, the teacher that, it's not even like Icicle or the Ultra Humanite did it. It was Cameron's grandparents, which sucks because Cameron really liked that teacher. That teacher meant a lot to him, and it's kind of sucky, and I'm sure his grandmother is not going to admit what she did. His grandfather helped, like, dispose of the body, I'm sure, but still. So, but yeah, everything with Sylvester being set up, it's like, yeah, it's once again, that typical hero thing of like, I need to do this alone. So when he ran into Pat, he said the most awful things. It's like, this is your fault. You had me distracted into the most important part of my life. Like, you're kind of a loser, Pat. That you're not a hero, you're always going to be a sidekick. I was like, wow. But immediately I'm like, he's just saying all that because he doesn't want Pat involved. It's like, once again, it's the typical hero thing. I'm going to push you away. I'm going to say the terrible things so that I can be in this fight alone because I don't want to drag you into it. And he kind of did the same thing for Courtney. And Courtney had that beautiful speech where it's like, right, I looked up to you. I admired you. At one point in time, I actually believed you were my father. When I found out you weren't, I was disappointed. But every step of the way, becoming, getting the staff, ending up in a hospital. It's when Cindy hurt me, like, it was always Pat that was there for me. It's like, yes, I was disappointed when I found out you weren't my father, but she's like, I think every day that Pat is. I was like, oh, I almost wanted her, like, when she talks to Pat later on. I think we're going to get it by the end. I think at the end of the series, we'll get it. But I think she's going to be like, Dad, and Pat's going to be like, what? It's like, yeah. Because Mike's in the same vein. Like, he treats Barbara more like a mom now, but I don't think do correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like he might have called her mom once, because I do feel like I had the reaction of like, oh my god, I feel like I had that reaction, but maybe I'm misremembering, because I feel like that had to have come up like last season, because like Barbara and him definitely got closer last season. And for whatever reason, he was able to take the staff from Courtney, because Courtney's like, right, I'm not going to give you the staff. I'm not going to let you go into this fight. But he's like, yeah, come to me, and made Cosmo come to him. And it's like, yeah, you can't do anything about it. Because he's like, and that moment, he's just like, right, kid. It's almost like, once again, got to bring it back to Kingdom Hearts. Didn't I say that was going to happen, interestingly enough? I might have said this last season. That might have been the thing. I think I made the comparison to Kingdom Hearts last. It's a 20-year-old game at this point, spoilers, the Keyblade was supposed to go to Riku, but Sora took it. And once again, one of my like most favorite douchebag lines, you were just a delivery boy. Like, that's what I think I said that last season about it. And now it's like, yeah, it's coming true. It's like, yeah, it's that moment where he makes her go like, right, you don't deserve the staff. Which I think we are going to have our Kingdom Hearts moment where she comes to like, no, like, I am worthy, like, I am Stargirl, and like, she ends up getting the staff back, because regardless of it all, the staff has its own mind, I think, and it ultimately got fooled. We'll get to that in a second, but I think that the bond is so intertwined now, it's like, no, you're mine now. But I think in the finale, what we're going to get is Courtney, because on some level, Courtney's always felt a little inadequate to the legacy that is Sylvester's a Starman, and she just feels like, right, because she feels like she stumbled along the way. She's like, she's always had self-confidence issues and been like, maybe I'm not a good enough leader, you know? But it's like, what separates you, what makes you the hero that you are, is not Stargirl, it's Courtney Whitmore is what makes you the hero you are. And I think that moment, you know, my friends are my power moment, I think she's going to have that next episode, and she's going to take the staff no matter what Sylvester's bond to Cosmo is, because she's going to have confidence in herself, believe in herself, the people around her love her and believe her, and she's going to take this opportunity. So I think that's where we're going to go. He even had that moment with Artemis, because she was ready to go after Jordan, but he was like, no, don't worry about it. I'm going to kill Jordan for you. I was like, yeah, that seems like pretty legit. Like I said, they played it so beautifully, because you wouldn't think, it's like, once again, you think like, oh man, this is that story. Especially when Zeke pointed out to Pat's like, right, he's trying to protect me. All right, he takes like the flamethrower from Stripe's arm, because it's like, right, the mech is too beat up to use in this fight, so he takes it, goes to Sylvester. But for him, it's like, man, you're my friend, you're my partner, I got your back, dude. As you say, this is your destiny. Because for him, it's like, and he gives this passionate response of like, it's on me. Like, I was the one who failed the JSA. I'm the one who shouldn't have come back. There's so many others who should be here instead of me, because he doesn't think he deserves it. I mean, a lot of them had families, and it's like, they deserve to be here, not me, the one who kind of had no one anymore. Especially, well, he had his sister, but obviously with everything with Brainwave, it's like, he just felt like I had no one at this point in time. So, you know, he's like, so this is my destiny. Jordan was brought back to life. I was brought back to life. This is my opportunity. This is my chance to make things right. But Pat's like, yeah, this is my destiny too. We've been into this like through thick and thin, so it's time for us to take this opportunity. Then you add in like Jordan doing all that he's doing too, convincing Cameron's like, hey, Courtney, you need to give her time. It's like, well, they need to trust me. They need to show that I'm good. Well, how about I capture the Ultra Humanite, which won't be enough, because Courtney's caught in this complicated space because of what Sylvester said, plus what she's feeling. And also even her mom's like, right, he didn't kill the Crocs in self-defense, you know? So it's a situation of we got to stop him, and even Pat agrees. So all that's happening. Plus Rick is going through it. I was like, wait, are you going, like, the moment he took off the hourglass and he finally took it off, like the lights start flickering. I was like, what the hell is that? I was like, at first I was like, is that hourglass energy running through him so much that he's kind of basically a human battery now or something? It's like, and then like his vision start turning red, and just he's getting delirious. I was like, are you going through withdrawal? It's like, holy, that looks like that's some kind of version of withdrawal. I was like, that's rough. And it seems like he's been dealing with that this entire time. I guess while he was off on his own, he tried to take their advice. I don't know if this is the first time. I don't think it's the first time he's probably tried to handle this on his own. While he's been off screen, he's probably been trying to handle this. You're like, man. I didn't even talk about the whole situation with the Ultra Humanite thing in the beginning, and how that comes full circle. Oh, that was so beautiful and so twisted that you're up there knowing like, oh, Dolores Winters. It's like, oh, thank you, losing myself in the role. And this guy who was madly in love with Dolores he's like, oh, there's something inside of you, like you're playing this role or whatever. And she's like, wow, you actually saw me. And then proceeded to bash his head in with the Oscar that she won. That is, once again, I was like, there's something sick about you implanting your head into a woman's body and then like playing the role of her life. It's like, there's a double meta to that of like, hey, I'm playing this role at playing this actress. It's like that thing where it's like, now it's like it's an actor acting, you know? It's like that triple layer of it in this show. But it's just like, I always think that's so interesting when it's like, oh, an actor is like pretending like they can't act. So it's like, you're acting to act bad, you know? It's such a weird, interesting thing but it was in that thing of like, oh, like, that's so crazy. And obviously Dragon King came to the Ultra Humanite and was like, oh, I can give you a new body, give you your current body enhancements like this. But it's like, no, the JSA might be closing in, so I need to kind of shift. And the Ultra Humanite was like, oh yeah, I got this gorilla body with some enhancements. This could be. And even later on, it says like, hey, if it wasn't for the enhancements of that gorilla body, it gave me so much strength. I was so powerful. And that's the only reason why I survived the JSA's assaults over the years. But, so there was that. And at the same time, Mike and Jakeem are working with Cindy. And I love that Jakeem's trying so hard to impress Cindy. And Mike's like, whoa, write down the wish first. And he's like, no, come on, Mike, don't embarrass me. I'm like, oh, he's got that high school crush. He's crushing on Cindy so hard. She's never going to look at you that way, dude. Like, I don't think she's into younger dudes. But regardless, Cindy's just kind of like, okay, whatever. It's like, once again, it's Cindy and her two stooges, you know, to some extent. I even love later on, she's like, oh, Jakeem, you actually did something. Let's go, idiots. It's like her little ragtag of idiots. I love it. But luckily they ended up finding, well, I love that Thunderbolt when he helped, because he was like, oh, no, what you wanted was to take Cindy somewhere where you could end up impressing her, which ended up finding one of her dad's labs, but it's still super active. And you're like, oh, I was like, oh, it's got to be the Ultra Humanite using him. But it's like, no, isn't your dad dead? Because I was like, right, they were setting up the Dragon King thing, and I knew from the beginning it must have been like Cindy, the mutation or whatever he did to her is laying dormant. Now, part of me wonders, could he have always been planning to take Cindy's body? Like, is that why he did what he did? He was perfecting her body so he eventually could take it over? I mean, it might just be a thing of like, oh, he was always trying to perfect the ultimate weapon or something like that. Not unless Cindy was going to eventually be like a body for the Ultra Humanite or something like that. But then they find Dragon King's body and then the brain is missing. They were like, wait, what? I was like, no. And then he pops up in the Ultra Humanite's body and was like, wait, if he's in, where's the Ultra Humanite's brain? I was like, oh my God, he's in Jordan, isn't he? And then they show Sylvester. I was like, no! And he not Panda. I was like, oh my, dude, I'm telling you, I was like, what? I thought that was beautiful. And then they laid out the grand plan of like, oh yeah, it's been me I was like, wait, has he been Sylvester the entire time? I was like, no, or could he have just gotten Sylvester in that time he was away? But I was like, no, that's too short of a time period. Oh my God. I was like, no. The way Sylvester's been acting this entire season, it's been the Ultra Humanite. I was like, oh my God, it's been the Ultra Humanite since last season. I was like, dude, no way. No, I was like, I'm so curious how much of this was already, I'm sorry if I'm getting loud or getting too hyped. Dude, that was a masterful villainous reveal. I thought that was so good because it's like, I wish I'd stuck to my guns. I felt from the beginning like something's off with like Sylvester. That's why I was like, not unless he's the real killer or something. Turns out kind of is, but I was like, I knew something was off about him from the very, very beginning. It just didn't make sense to me, you know? It's like there's something that's just not right about this. He just seemed off, and he seemed so angry all the time. And I was like, maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. And just like it's because it's all been an act. It's all been a play. He which is so interesting. Eclipso last season dismantled the JSA playing mind games, and the Ultra Humanite kind of did the same thing, but from the inside. It's like, oh, I didn't have to use like magical powers to like mess with your heads. I did it. I just pointed Yolanda at Cindy, because he said like, right, if I was around Cindy, she would have saw through me, which I wonder what that really would have meant. It's like, to be fair, him and Cindy have not been on screen together. They had that one scene where she showed up at the door and he said some hurtful shit to send her away. That's about it. But I'm like, I wonder why does he feel like Cindy would have seen through him? I guess it's like, right, villains recognize villains. So like, right, because she sees Cameron a little bit for who he was, or at least his grandparents. So I think that's why it's like game recognizes game. So I'm a little bit of a villain. I would have recognized you. I mean, I guess it's like, she would have known about like her dad's experiments or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he's suggesting she would have figured that out, because obviously like the Crusher and Paula didn't, but like maybe they don't have that same instinct, like, because Cindy's a lot more like her father than she probably would ever want to admit, so maybe she would have picked up on certain things like that. I don't know if that's what that's in reference to, but when you think about it in the grand scheme of the season, he was not around Cindy at all. I think the only time they were around each other was maybe the season 2 finale, but probably because of that, he's like, I need to keep my distance from you. So, oh my God. But yeah, like everything. Because Rick ultimately showed up at the house and was like, yeah, I need help. You know, maybe Sylvester can help me. He's the one that told me about the limit. It's like, wait, what? And Beth is like, I looked into the research. What's happening to Rick happened to Rex. Like, he went through this, and Sylvester would have known that. So why would he? I was like, because that felt to on purpose. I'm like, why would you tell him something? But like, oh, but don't do it. But I'm like, oh my God. He's like, I made Beth get distracted by making her focus on her parents and keeping them at a distance. Rick is going through what he's going through right now. And he's toying with Courtney a little bit too, because by getting close to her, it helped him stay close to the staff and form a bond with the staff. And now, like, the staff has to listen to him because the bond is there. Even though if it recognizes, like, you're not Sylvester, our bond is so intertwined now. Once again, I think Courtney's going to have her moment next episode, but oh my God, dude. I was like, this is so villainous. Like, right, we weren't just looking for one bad guy. We were looking for 3 because 3 were working together. We had Dragon King, the Ultra Humanite, and Jordan all working together. It's like, dude. So now it makes you go like, well, the Ultra Humanite has been inside of Sylvester's body since like last season. Well, I mean, who knows how long he's been in there, because I was like, right, what McNider said was right, that the staff did preserve his body, but his brain was already gone. So the Ultra Humanite, he's like, yeah, I spent all that time traveling. I went and learned everything I could. I was like, oh my God, every time we saw him last season, even when he went to see Mike's mom, it's like, yeah, I was gathering as much intel so that I could learn as much so I could play this role. And he even says that thing, he's like, sorry, sometimes I lose myself in the role. Like, you are my friend, you're my brother. I was like, this. I'm too hyped about it, but I'm like, this is disgusting. This is some top tier villainous duplicitous shit, and I love it, dude. I shouldn't be this hyped about the villain. It's so heartbreaking. It's so, but like, I've seen this happen in shows before. Like, one I could think of is like Fringe, the show Fringe. Charlie, like, he ended up being dead in a fake replay. Another example would be the bolt gun killer. Oh my God, there were some beautiful twists with that. You know, if you haven't seen Haven, season 3 is probably my favorite because it's a murder mystery. Because there's like basically a somewhat shapeshifter. They basically can take over your body and they wear your skin like a suit and pretend to be you. That's a whole shtick, right? So I love stuff like that. So that's why I get so hyped. I was like, oh, because it's so good. It was all laid out there. That's why I was saying earlier why I thought like him mentioning like the Sandman. I was like, didn't the Sandman have kids? Maybe, but like I said, and I thought maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that was the whole point. Or maybe maybe it wasn't he has a kid. Maybe it's like his powers passed on to someone else or something like that. Maybe that's what that was. And like I said, that could just be my mistake. And maybe I'm just misremembering. And his reasoning too is like, oh, I don't have like the grand master plan that Jordan and Dragon King have. It's like, no, yes, that body served me well, but I had to hide and stay hidden for all those decades. Now, I get to be Starman. I get to just, embrace it. I mean, the fact is, you were able to you brought me into the fold, Pat. You drew me in so close and you didn't see me as I was stabbing you in the back. Oh my God, that's so good. But also, it is sad because you're like, oh, so Sylvester never came back. We never got to know the real Sylvester. Like, Pat thought he got his friend, his brother back, his partner in crime, well, partner in justice. But it's like, no, it wasn't. It was a bad guy hiding, but playing the role of a lifetime. Oh my, well, I guess you could make the argument role of a fourth lifetime, I guess, because this is technically the fourth body. He had his original, then Dolores, then the apes, now Sylvester. So I was like, oh, that's so beautifully done. And I love how sick it is that he's like, oh, do you want to know their grand plan? Pat? And he looks down and he's like, oh, I buried you. Oh. Bye, Pat. I was like, that is sick. That is disgusting, and I love it. I was like, I can't, like I said, I know I'm twisted for getting so hyped about this villainous stuff, but to me, that was so beautifully executed. I was like, wow. And that goes back to my point earlier. Like, obviously, they got a couple months heads up about this going to be the final season. Sadly, the show's not getting a fourth season. But I'm curious, like, were they already going to do the Ultra Humanite in Sylvester's body storyline, and they're just going to do another season? Like, I'm curious, like, how much stayed the same, how much was different this season. I'm sure, like, creators behind the show are probably like, there's probably already stuff out there already. I haven't looked into it because I don't want to stumble across any, like, future knowledge. I didn't want to stumble across something that might spoil what's, the finale and everything. So, but I'm so interested to look at that. I'll read up more about it after the show is done, like I said, just so I don't accidentally stumble, because I am not watching any promo. I want to go into this finale not knowing what to fully expect. I think they're going to come out on top, but how this all plays out, where the lines are going to be drawn, like Cameron's going to have to choose to work with the JSA, because it's like, right, knowing that his dad's a part of such a duplicitous plot, what his dad's ultimate plan is, what the Dragon King's plan is, who knows, but yeah, like, this is all for the purposes of, like, yeah, I'm playing the role of a lifetime, and now I get to be Starman. I got the staff and everything. I get to play this role, and no one's going to be able to stop me. It's like, wow, I no longer have to hide. In fact, I get to be in front of the camera. I get to be I get to be a star again, just like as Dolores. That's so good. The final fight's going to happen. It's got to be like Jordan versus Cameron, and maybe I'd expect Rick to kind of get on that. I think they should team up together. I think Sydney and Yolanda and probably Beth and Jakeem and Mike might work together to take down Dragon King. But I think also, like, Mike and Pat, like, them having their, like, kind of resolve and everything. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Artemis, especially because, like, well, it was out of BS, but the fact is he needed to remove Artemis from the board without revealing his circumstances. So it's like, no, go live your life that your parents wanted you to be. It's like, which is sick considering you're working with the guy who murdered her parents. Either way, I am so very excited for the series finale. Obviously, I'm super bummed, but if you're going to go out, you go out swinging, and holy shit, is this how you swing for the freaking fences, homie? Holy shit, dude. Dude. That reveal was so damn good. I cannot, some other people probably saw that coming, but man, I did not, and that was so good. That was so well executed. Either way, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how the series comes to an end. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and good